Good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to have a full room for such a full afternoon. I want to welcome our first panel, but most importantly, I want to introduce where this all started. I think it's 32 years it has been since we have had the support of the Maeda Corporation. And just when I first, maybe 2 years ago, first came and met Soji, we started a conversation about how we might do more and to honor and to perhaps celebrate an exhibition that we did in 1992 of 5 emerging Japanese architects. And so we sort of started to readdress this idea of where emerging ideas were coming from in Japan, how they aligned to a series of ideas that were live within the school here at the AA, and to offer a series of questions to how we distill a practice through the fabrication of objects with an eye to their materiality and how that materiality responds to ideas of climate crisis, of regenerative material, and to how we look forward. So much of what has come out of these pairings has been a unique contribution, a unique collaboration between artist, fabricator, material innovator, and architect. It has also brought together amazing talents with the kinds of materials and facilities we have here and at Hook Park. I think it stands in a different way in the long tradition of the relationship we've had between Japan, Maeda Corporation, and the AA. So this afternoon we have 2 panels, and which will present their work, and then a conversation, the first which will be chaired by Takeshi, who is, I think, also a wonderful combination of the legacy of the AA and of the work that you did with Shin. And I think that we have a lot to thank that relationship for in terms of the way in which you've developed ideas over these many, many decades. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to our first panel. I hope please introduce yourselves, and I'm looking forward to seeing your work. Please join us, of course, at the end of this afternoon, this evening, for the opening of the exhibition. Welcome. Thank you.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Thank you, Ingrid. Hi, everyone. I'm Suzuko Yamada, and this is Yuki Murakami. So we start talking about our project. So I'm an architect. I'm based in Tokyo, and he's food artist. Food material artist. He's based in Seto, in Aichi. It's really part from Tokyo. So, should I change the? How can I change the? So I will show some of our works. Yes, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so if you already see our works upstairs, we made wearable skin. It's connecting body to space. So usually we design houses for individual houses. And this is actually my house. I'm living with my family, my parents, and also my little son and husband. And then another one, this is also the house we designed 2 or 3 years ago. And we usually use a lot of small stuff like furnitures and also other like kids toys or curtains or those small stuff same as the building material like pillars or columns, the beams and the walls. So the idea we always have is to use those small stuff and the things you always use for the house. same as the architecture itself, and especially the ladders and also those small like bathroom walls. So it connects the your body and to space really intimately. And another works, it's exhibition. It's for the exhibition, and this is like the bar, like drinking wines and alcohol inside of this space, and it's only for 4 days. The name of the event is Tokyo Art Week. And then our idea is to create the sense of the space only with this thin material. It's 13 millimeter thick steel pipes. So we try to carve those pipes to have the sense of the outline of this kind of furniture, and also the shape of the beam and the columns, and also like if you get inside of the bar, you have the bar counter and the chairs. So all those outlines of the furniture, and also the things to make the space to have. So we draw all the lines of those. And another trial, this is also same as the former project. We decided to make the furniture with the same pipe. And then, so we divided these lines into 7 furnitures, and some of them are chairs, and some of them are tables. And we created the really free drawing line to have some chair space to sit down, and also to have the space to put your glasses on top. So we still here to create the lines to figure out how to make your body to find the relationship between body and space. So so that's our works from the office, and this is the collaboration work with our office with Yuki's studio. So the beginning point is we started to look at the long list of the manufacturer and also artists who is always working with some material which is really somehow really organic or ecological. Then we found the name of Yuki, and it says he is making the leather from vegetables, and it sounds really interesting. So yeah, we started collaboration with Yuki. So he's going to explain his work in Japanese, and she's going to translate.
Okay. Hello, I'm Yuki Murakami. すいません、僕は英語が話せないので、日本語で話させていただければと思います。
Hello, very nice to see you all, and I'll be speaking Japanese from here.
まずは、僕がどんな活動をしているのか少しお話しさせていただきたいと思います。僕は、素材アーティストとして、活動していまして、主に廃棄物を使った素材開発と、その素材を使った、プロダクトのデザインをしています。
Right. Let me introduce you what I do. I am a material artist. I use waste materials and develop materials using waste materials, and also I develop products with the materials I create.
なぜ、こういう活動をするに至ったのか少しお話ししたいのですが、きっかけとしては僕が大学生の頃に、大学では建築を勉強していたのですが、その4年生の時に、コロナウイルスが蔓延して、学校に行けずに家に、閉じこもって、制作を続けなきゃいけないという時間がありました。
And let me explain why I started doing what I do now. At the last, my major was architecture, and at the last year of my university, COVID happened. So I couldn't go anywhere. I had to stay at home. So I had to figure out what to do.
その中で、何かすごい建築や家具を作りたいなと息巻いてたんですけれども、その学校に行けない、何も設備が使えないという環境で何ができるのかなというところで自分の身近な生活を見直した時に、自分の廃棄物だったりとか自分がどんな生活を送っているのかという些細なことに自分が全然着目できていなかったなというところに思い知らされて、そういった生活を見直すということを始めました。
So at university, I was really into creating some great architecture, great furniture, but it just didn't happen at my last year of the uni. No facilities, nothing available. So I started looking around me, what I have now here. And then I noticed waste. And also I looked into my lifestyle, the little things that I had ignored before. So I started looking at these small things in my life.
そうやって、自分の生活だったりとか些細なことを見直すうちに、素材という根本的なものに、着目するようになり、なぜか建築などではなく素材を開発するアーティストになってしまっていました。
So while I was doing that, I was looking into materials much more, not architecture. I completely forgot about it almost. And that's how I became a material artist.
で今回、制作に使っていただいた素材が、食べられる、レザー素材なんですけれども、これは、全て食べられる素材だけで、構築されたレザーのベースから、僕が開発してその中に、玉ねぎの皮だったりとか、キャベツだったりとかそういう食品廃棄物を混ぜて、何でもレザーにすることができるベースを開発しました。
So the materials that I use for this exhibition are edible leather. So I created materials like that we base leather, artificial leather on. So the ingredients are onion peels, and I use also cabbage. So these come from food waste.
もしかしたらその自分が食べていたかもしれないけれども食べられなかった残ってしまった、食品廃棄物というものを、レザーにする食べられる状態でレザーにするという、食べられるんだけれども、実際に食べ物としては扱わないというその曖昧さを、何か表現して、メッセージ性として伝えられればいいなと思って作ったものになります。
So these were made from the things that I might have eaten, but I didn't. And I decided to turn them into leather. So you can eat them, but they are not really food. So there's kind of a little ambiguity between this material and what used to be food was my main interest.
他にも、僕は、素材を開発するという、手法自体に強みを持っているので、レザー以外にも、たくさんの素材を廃棄物から開発しています。
So I developed various materials, so not just leather that I make from these food waste, I make other materials as well.
こちらの写真は、廃棄されるコーヒーかすと牛乳を混ぜて作った、まるでカフェオレのようなというコンセプトを持って作った、ブロック素材になります。
So now what you're looking at now is made from coffee waste and milk. So the concept is just like cafe au lait, and it's actually a block.
こちらは、国内外のコーヒーかすだったりコーヒーに関連のある、カフェだったりとかそういったところに実際にそのカフェのコーヒーかすを使った、ものを使用して、納品させていただいたりとかしています。
So I collect these coffee weights from various cafes in Japan or abroad.
そういった、些細な生活を見直しながら、何かこういう廃材を、こねくり回すような変な生活を日々送っています。
So I enjoy looking at these little things in everyday life. So I'm playing with these ways and things that you might not look at, and I have a lot of fun with doing that.
Hi. Thank you, Yuki. So we started discussing together what to make as on the furniture, especially like distillation with distillation idea, and what we came up with is something wearable and something which looks like an extension of our skin. So we thought about something like a hat or bracelet, or we drew a lot of sketches like with the earrings or those something with the legs. And then afterwards I decided to make a kind of cover of the head, and which is similar to hat but more bigger. And in Japan, in a wedding ceremony, brides are the head of the brides are covered with this white wata boshi. It sounds cotton. Yeah. Cotton wool. Yeah. So it looks really beautiful, and also it has a quite big space in between the head and the shed. So it's really interesting for me. So we try to make something like that with his material. And we try to figure out how to. In the beginning, we thought about to every guest have that hat and walk inside of the gallery, but it was really difficult to produce many of those. So we decided to make 2 of them with the green color and the red color, which is exhibited. Yeah. And we also try to find the figure of that material, and it came up with the bigger size of that hat of the Japanese bride. So in his studio, he tried to make the shape of the hat, and the point is we decided not to sew the leather like the usual leather products, but we decided to make it seamless without any like strings, so it make more like skin feeling and more organic. So we discussed the color of the product and then the material, which is from the vegetable. So we chose the green color and the red color, which is from the spinach and the tomato. So this is the final product. And if you walk inside of the gallery, you'll see that this hat like cocoon like product hanging from the ceiling. So please go inside. And so one is for standing, and one is for sitting on the chair. So if you sit on the chair and with the cover of this product, you smell a little tomato. So, and also you cover the most of the vision scenery of the space, but you see the some of the opening through the shape, and it really has a sense of the space inside, and maybe it's nice to have the book inside, or maybe mobile phone, or just to be relaxed with your own space. And also, I'm thinking if you have this hat with and walking inside of the gallery, it really have a sense of the relationship with the body and also the space. So like the other furniture actually do usually so works. So yeah, please try to sit on the chair here. So yeah, that's it. That's our presentation.
Yeah, probably this in controller. Or maybe not. Just name.
Yeah.
Easier.
Helpful, yeah. Thank you for having us here today. I'm Maddie Kessler. I studied at the AA with Shin.
I'm Miyotsuneyama.
And we met together like 15 years ago now when we were working in
You don't
Switzerland.
need to tell them.
Sorry, some years ago. And ever since then, we've sort of come together to collaborate on various projects through Studio M&M. So yeah, to take you through some of our work.
So our practice, when we started to work, it was like it was after the earthquake in 2011 in Tohoku area in Japan, and we just realized that we are surrounded a lot of materials, which meant be waste, but could be also resources. Like for example, we worked on this renovation project of the shared house, which is like abandoned house becomes shared house for the new kind of family, because it's not like a blood related family. Or like, and then this needs to be repaired. So like how to repair was like also like our interest, and this is like repaired or reinforced with the string, which we can cut and by scissors, and also like transportable with the with hand because it's light. Also like repairing while living is also like possible if we can find the resources around us. Also like what we are like kind of weighting the waste materials produced by like urban life, so that we can apply it each time we found the waste into our house and for the new life. Of course, like we eat every day, like Yuki presented. And after we unsealed our parking spot in our house, we got like soil, and we regenerated this soil using like humus and bamboo charcoal. And after 1 year, it became full of life. So 2D surface becomes suddenly 3D and full of life. And we started to bring back the food waste every day and to fertilize the soil, also decompose the waste into nutrition. And next year, the tomato grew up from compost. Like suddenly, when we have a soil, the food cycle started to have in our house. Then we started to also use these biodegradable materials because we started to kind of feel not so comfortable using not decomposed by soil, because we witnessing every day bringing back the our food waste into soil. So for example, wood fiber for insulation and the cotton fabric for ceiling, or like a balustrade of the staircase. So we, of course, like many materials are biodegradable, like from our traditional materials. But also we wanted to kind of seek like what's the new biodegradable materials, and this is like, mycelium, which is a kind of body of the mushroom, and also reinforced with the wood tip and the flax. And we really like witnessing like power of the soil. So we, but our life in the city is almost everywhere is covered by concrete or asphalt. So how to unseal or building, sealed by building. So how to unseal the urban space was like a next interest we got. So this is independent foundation without sealing the building, the underneath of the building with concrete, which is also like the pile of 14.5 meter. And through this kind of experience, we got to know there's many things we can learn from the traditional knowledge, because we used to live with this cycle of with the natural materials. So this is like the carpentry the house built by traditional carpentry without any metal joint, and with using like air drying wood instead of machine drying wood, which kills all the cell of the wood. Also like the cladded with all this hygroscopic materials which breathe like us. So it's good for our health, and also the life of the building will be longer if it's breathing all the materials like everything together. So this kind of materials meant to be weak during like economical growing period, and it replaced by petrol-based materials meant to be durable. But it's probably weak in terms of building materials, but it's very strong to create the biological cycle. So we started to use this paper, traditional Japanese paper for the wall finishing, window screen with the paper, Japanese paper with food scrap, which is a soba grained skin. And also like the myceliums as a lamp shade, also like ceiling covered with cotton, which is bingo textile, which we used for this exhibition.
And so our installation next door is called Nomadic Horizon. We invite you all to go and see it afterwards. But to give you some context of where it sort of came from, we were really interested in sort of spaces that people gather in, and the flexibility around those spaces, and sort of touching, I suppose, the ground lightly with furniture, how you can start to define different spaces. And so, just sort of looking at lightweight and transportable furniture as architecture that really touches the ground lightly. And at the same time, we were really interested in the materiality of cotton, and how that's something which comes from the ground and eventually also has this opportunity to go back to the soil. And so we looked at kazuri. I've probably said that wrong.
Yeah,
kazuri, which is it's a traditional Japanese weaving technique where they take these pre-dyed threads and sort of wrap them into this woven pattern. And it's often used in sort of clothing, workers' clothing. It's very tough, the material, and really beautiful. And it's just incredibly durable, which is why it's been used as this like everyday workwear and for workers' materials. So there are like 3 major types of kazuri, and in its heyday in the 1950s, sort of 3 million pieces were shipped annually. But this is a craft which is sort of being lost in a way, and we kind of wanted to therefore look at how we could use it and sort of, I suppose, celebrate its existence and bring it back. So we created this series of foldable and lightweight and self-supporting structures. I think something which we thought about from the very beginning was how we were going to ship something from Japan to London. And so this idea of having something which really folds up very small was really important to us. And we've created 3 different sort of typologies, I suppose, of those structures. So the first is the Byobi partitions, which are like based on these traditional Japanese partitions, which allow the space to be divided in different ways, in the evening, at night, and in the daytime. And also using these kind of cloth or paper hinges, which allow the structure to open in both directions, but also means it's just sort of timber and cloth that's been used in the structure. And so, you can see it next door and play with the models as well. But I think we really enjoy how it sort of allows you to create different spaces, and then it also folds up very neatly. And then secondly, the zabuton sofa. And so this is, sort of, I suppose, a cross between the traditional futon and a chair and a sofa that were created. And it sort of can be used flexibly in different ways. So it can be used as seating, but it can also be sort of folded down as a place to sleep. And again, it also stacks very neatly for transport or storage. And so this is it, and it's different kind of forms, which again you're welcome to kind of test it out in different ways in the exhibition. And then finally the andon lighting, which again is looking at these kind of traditional Japanese lanterns which would have had a fire sort of burning in them, and they come in different kind of typologies. We looked at how we could create a folding one, which again sort of folds quite neatly. Twist. Correcting my English. And then I suppose finally we sort of wrapped everything up in the traditional furoshiki rug for transports, but that rug also becomes the kind of mat that everyone sits on. And so the rug is the same dimensions of a traditional tatami mat, and it also uses the kind of offcuts from the process of making the furniture, so nothing's been wasted, to create this kind of patchwork within the rug. So I think, is this the animation?
Yes.
Don't know why it's not. This should be an animation, but... Oh, there you go. So you can see how everything sort of arrived and unfolds. So yeah, please play around with it in the space when you're in there later. Take a nap, read a book, have some fun. Thank you.
No, there is
Oh,
other
sorry.
one.
I forgot our network diagram.
So this is our so this is like our networks. Like just we analyzed like how many people and also object resources from the cotton flower to the decomposition is involved in this project, and many kind of tradition and knowledge and skill. Also water or sun resources to dry or like to dye the thread or like grow the flower is like involved in this project. So it's like Kasuri project is one of the state of this all the network of the materials or processing the skills and the people and other species. But if we see like with this network, it's kind of different, state of this materiality is like goes back to the soil to fertilize, and the soil also grows the cotton again. So it's like a huge, like this project has a huge network of these actors. And this is what we are like also thinking when we are designing architecture. And this Kasuri project is this reflect this kind of thinking, the materiality of when we are designing architecture into like a minimum furniture. So this is our setting, and the bingo Kasuri is used to be workwear. So it's kind of a symbol of poverty. So even it's a lot of processes involved, and it's really valuable. Until now, so far, like people didn't really appreciate. But something we wanted to do is like to celebrate this knowledge and the skills, which is disappearing because of the people doesn't. There is people. The fabric maker couldn't find the people who inherit this knowledge, and hopefully this project helps to
reignite interest.
Yes, thank you.
Into the craft again.
So we already used this space for the studio Madeline teaches. So feel free to sit.
I have to say it works really well as a seminar space if anyone wants to use it.
Yeah. So the Zabuton cushion is like tested 100 times by a Japanese upholsterer, and he really like obsessed like the comfort of sitting, and it's really nice feeling if you sit down. So please feel this Japanese Zabuton cushion feeling, which is also filled with the cotton wool, like Suzuko-san. It's cocoon. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Murakami-san should leave.
Yeah.
Have a good flight. He has a flight. Maybe you should introduce yourself.
Yes, yeah. Well, first of all, yeah, thank you very much for really inspiring lecture, the talk. And
Should I?
yeah, I assigned to somehow chair this session. So yeah, I'm introduce myself very quickly. My name's Takeshi Hayatsu. I'm Japanese, but I'm based in London. I studied at the AA under Shin as well, and yes, generation. Yes. So Yeah, and also I do my own practice, and I really interested in materials and crafts as a kind of I suppose, theme of my work as well. So yeah, really intrigued to listen to your thoughts and your approach. And yeah, I want to throw a few questions to begin with, and then open up to the audience to participate the conversation. The first question I'd like to ask both of you is somehow you pick fabric as a material to do this, which I can totally understand and see, why you did that in terms of sort of portabilities and especially sort of traveling from Japan to London into the UK. It's kind of a transport is the issue, obviously, but quite different approach to the type of materials you pick. The one is the kind of reviving or resurrect and promoting the traditional clothes, which was tried and tested for many years, whereas your material is brand new. And it's a shame that somehow Yuki-san has to go, because that was actually my burning question. How do you make that fabric? Do you know?
How to make that?
Yeah, what's the ingredients? What is the trade secret?
Yeah, he couldn't. That was actually quite a small secret material. But he mixed with the vegetable powder and also one basement material, which is also from some food. So all the leather is actually eatable.
Has that been already used and tested, or is this the first time you use this?
He made some small goods, like a small leather goods, like a purse. But it was the first time for him to make a bigger scale object.
Yeah,
so that was a big challenge.
It felt really strong, but I was wondering what sort of a durability it has. And,
I think it depends on the vegetable which is based on. So he showed onion skin, which is quite strong because it has a lot of fibers in it. But then the tomato or the other like apples, the other one is not that strong. So he told me that here is quite dry comparing to the Japanese environment. So it has a small wareme.
Like a cracks
Based on the environment and humidity. But otherwise it's I think it's really strong or flexible if you use not like strong action.
So students and visitors need to sort of wear it carefully.
Please touch and try to wear.
Okay. And whereas this kasuri is very strong fabric, and I wonder whether you could explain, if you can, I mean, how it's made and why it's so thick, and I don't know, this kind of
the kasuri in Japanese is ikat in English. So it's like the thread is dyed already before weaving. So already indigo dyeing which is anti-insect, goes to the inside of the thread. So like a whole thread has already dyed and protected by indigo. So that's why it's durable. Also, like it's durable because of the Japanese custom to repair. So they do like each time like it goes weaker.
You sort of you sew a patch on like wherever there might be a hole,
and also like stitches. We call it sashiko, and like which we exhibited like the workwear called noragi in the exhibition. It's like they use over like 50 years, and this is like the work where I got is like 100 years ago, and it's very thick. Because like they how we say
Continually mending
yeah,
it.
continually patched where the textile is tiered.
And also,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
I guess just to say, like, so it's inherently strong, but it's also easy to repair in a sense. So it makes it very durable over the generations.
Yeah, no, it was quite actually nice to see your final image of this network of did you say player, not player, the actors,
Yeah.
sorry, yes, which it was a little bit too small to actually read it, but
It's in
I'm
the exhibition.
imagining not only just fabrications and productions, but also distributions and
Yeah.
how they are actually
Transportation.
being used. And I just wonder whether Madi, especially in your kind of interest, is about this sort of, I suppose, much kind of overview of how the sort of society is changing, how the policy is kind of working, and then how this kind of, I suppose, industry can continue. And do you have any sort of commentary about, I suppose, this kind of perhaps Japanese traditional industry as well as UK or on the whole? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think the network diagram as well, like, really allows us to look at this in the wider context, and not just in the isolation of the small objects that we've created, but also to look at how we can learn from traditional crafts. And I suppose especially as we're all facing, like a climate crisis, how do we actually learn from what's existing to help us understand what we can be doing. And I think for us as well, Studio M&M, it's really interesting to have that international kind of dialogue around what's happening.
It's quite interesting, like drawing this network diagram. All the kind of traditional materials we could trace where it come from, how did it fabricated. For example, this LED light is like totally black boxed, and we couldn't really trace where it come from. And I think nowadays architecture, when we design, most of the product is like selected from the catalog, and we don't know where it come from. So this analyze was like also criticizing our design, like, if it's really good to choose these materials.
I think in a sense as well, like, we often have lost that sense of craft and knowing how to make things. And we were working very closely with the fabricator, and you were working very closely as well. And I think there's something about really learning about the material in new and different ways by doing that.
Yes, this sort of traceability, or where the kind of material come from, where it's going, is really, really important. But in the contemporary architectural practice, it's often, as you said, black box. And it's interesting that, I mean, everybody is looking at now quite a lot of, kind of becoming more kind of major thing that this biodegradable materials, more bio-based materials rather than petrochemical materials. I wonder, in Japan, I'm just kind of curious, the construction industry, how they are also looking at that sort of aspect in terms of building the buildings. Is a contractor more kind of willing to use those kind of bio-based materials, or you still need kind of difficult to find or too expensive to do it, or I don't know, what's the kind of a current trend?
Maybe we can ask Maeda Kensetsu-san. the
環境に優しいものを、
今日本だとそういうものをこう使うことに、 それがお金がもうちょっとかかってしまうとか、まあでも建設業界の中で。
全般的には環境に優しいものを使いましょうという流れは大きくあります。ただやっぱり省流に出てくるものが経済合理性に合うかどうかって非常に大きくて、でその省流を占めている商品がやっぱり市場を占めていくという結果にはなっているんですが、例えば LED っていうものが非常に耐久性が高くて安くて長持ちするというのは環境面でいいっていう部分があるんですが、問題になっているのは実は LED が眩しくて疲れちゃうとか、ちょっと仕事上、何かメンタルに影響があるんじゃないかっていう問題意識も実は出ていて、でそこがやっぱり省流の力に押されて負けてしまっていると。で、実はそれにもうちょっと環境に優しいというよりも人に優しい商品をもっと打ち出すべきじゃないかという動きもあってですね、例えば最近は有機 EL ライトみたいなものが出てきているんですけども、 LED とはやっぱり経済合理性には負けてしまっているんですけど、なんとかそこをもっと普及させようという一部の動きっていうのも今あったりですね、でそこはチャレンジしている人も結構いるっていうのが面白いところかなと思います。
Right. Being environmentally friendly isn't necessarily feasible. They don't always agree with the economy. I think that's the issues that everywhere we are facing at the moment. So LED lights are great because they're durable and actually cheaper, nice, good for the environment. But on the other hand, there has been an issue reported that it might affect people's mentality, or it's just too bright. LED lights are too bright for human eyes. So maybe they're not really good for humans. So maybe we might be at where we should think of being kind to humans. Obviously, we have to be kind to the environment, but we might want to focus a little bit on us people. And there are actually movements just like that. And recently, some people are trying to develop organic LED light. And again, whether that is economically feasible, that's again the problem at the moment. But it is a good challenge, and I think it's worth trying.
Yes, probably I can position myself like as a Japanese architect. I'm more like comparing here. I'm very modest, but I think in Japan I'm a bit more activist architect in terms of ecological issue. Because I think in Japan it's more like responding to this ecological issue or like global warming issue. It's like more technological response, not analyzing all the network until the resources or like judging with this humans healthy. It's more like how much it's reducing CO2 or something. So it's very, we say, like judging very like that only the number. I have a feeling, and of course, like I showed that we used wood fiber, for example, for our houses insulation, but this company is bankrupt already. And there is no company who does this wood fiber in Japan. Even there is so many wood timber construction, because it's just twice more expensive than grass wool. But they don't, like a customer doesn't choose yet like the better one when it's expensive. So I think it's a bit the situation in Japan in terms of architectural materials is a bit behind. How would I say, like the education of the users, also architects as well.
And I think that's why it's always important to look at the wider system that we're working with within, in a sense, and also looking at not just the physical materials we're using, but the behaviors that we're encouraging or allowing for. And also, for example, when we were doing the mycelium installation, we went in just sort of with all our research thinking this is a very sustainable material, but as we're doing the installation, we are realizing there comes a point where you have to kill the mycelium, and to do that you have to bake it in the oven for a really long time, and that's quite carbon intensive. So like for days and days. And so like actually starting to, I think, to have these wider conversations about the context within which everything's sitting in is really important, rather than isolating things as good and bad. Perhaps we need to sort of broaden that conversation.
Before we open up to the audience, I have another question to ask. I was quite fascinated by your work, Suzuko-san. You talked about small stuff, which is about scale, and it was quite innovative. I found that this sort of architecture is actually kind of collection of things, and treating these objects and furnitures same as the beams and columns. Just wonder, this kind of breaking down to scale, bringing this building to close to your body scale, and in this, how far can you take it? I know you are designing some pavilion for this expo, which I haven't seen any images. I suppose it's still confidential, but I'm quite interested to see. It sounds like a really big building, but is it really dense and busy as your other works?
Oh, sorry, what was that? The last question was?
Sorry, so once the building become big,
Bigger and
still
bigger,
has this density or the complexity that you...
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question, I think. Yeah. Well, for the we have some not like residential or installation project. We're starting to work with the kind of bigger scale projects, and we are now figuring out how to use the artificial raw material, or how to say, like the building itself with the more like environmental how do you say, like the nature or trees to thank you. So yeah, we make the viewpoint a little bit bigger to work with that kind of bigger scale projects. Then for the expo, we try to make use the artificial volume, which is buildings, and then and also same as the trees to in the same site, and then we use the small stuff with the small elements of the houses. Now we are cooking with the trees or a bunch of trees. Then like the wall of the volume or the shelf of the some like toilets or the space for the waiting. So yeah, we do the kind of same studies, but to make the bigger scale. That's what we are trying now.
Yeah, I found parallel to your work, Mio-san and Suzuko-san, especially sort of the way you make scale models, that you always put furnitures and things, kind of very busy, as as if inhabited, and it's quite fun as well, like a doll house. And I wonder whether this is something that you consciously do. I mean, clearly you're not minimalist.
I think it's it's not about like it's always about the scale of the project, but like that kind of business or density is I think it for us it's really important to have the different characters or different different people coming together to discuss something. So yeah, the density or the scale of the body is also really important for us to make the small scale projects. But to make it bigger and bigger, we still figure out how to make our project with the different different characters. Yeah, that's
we have in Japan we have an kind of word called ishokuju. It's like I is where, food, and ju house. So I thought we learned in the school this is like ishokuju, like clothes, food, and the house is essential of our life. But I think recently I recognized that it's not true. What we have learned, it's just like these three is like intertwined all together. It's not separatable. Running from the life before the modernized, because like most of the people were doing farming, making food, and byproduct of the food was used for making house, and also like sometimes like the food. The scrap from the building also used for the fertilizer of the farming, and of course also like clothes is like making clothes. Like for example, indigo dyeing, when they ferment the leaves, they use also byproduct of the farming, which is rice straw. So it's like all lining and entangled and not separatable, and like modernized technique is just to separate the three. And I think somehow when we kind of learning from the traditional ecological knowledge, it became again like unseparable for me. So it was very natural to use the cotton, which used to be cloth material, to architecture. For me it was because it's like life and the architecture is like cycled together, growing together. So
thank you, that's very beautiful. I'd like to ask the audience to raise a hand and ask questions. Anybody would like to ask anything? Yes. Sorry, shall I?
audience, students.
Mixed, I think. Yes.
Sorry. Firstly, thank you for the presentations. I'll ask in English for the audience. I thought the network diagram was really interesting, and what you were
Maybe can you talk louder?
Yeah. I'll come out. It's also very quiet here. Yeah, I'll ask in English for the audience, but thanks so much for the presentations. I was really loved the network diagram and what you were saying about entanglement, intertwining, and I was struck by this. The crafts are dying. People aren't taking it up. Indigo also and other toge folk and making things is really being picked up in China as a production and knowledge cultivation place. And now obviously the contrast with the LED, they're often made in South China. So I'm just curious whether you consider the maybe potential of the international scope. What does that mean in the entanglement, and maybe in your own practice or beyond? What does that mean, or your thoughts on that, expanding that entanglement, if that makes sense? Thank you.
Maybe Takeshi-san, can you translate?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Sorry. わかりました。わかります。
なんかちょっと。
その。
Do we need to expound?
So.
Ration, you could maybe do a short summary introduce.
Yeah.
He can speak Japanese.
長い質問でしたね。やっぱりAA としてやっぱり世界的なやっぱりセッティングみたいな感じなので、そのやっぱりものづくりがだんだん中国に行ったり今してるんですけど、そういう感じを考えながらやっぱり将来的に、あとやっぱりその考え的にどういうふうにこのものづくりとか陶芸の建築のつながりがどういうふうに広がるかとかさ、どういうコメントとかありますかなってちょっと興味があったんです。
I think we'd love to expand the network diagram forever. And just, I agree with you. It is situated within an international, global context, and I think that's what we realised. Like, we chose a material that we think is inherently Japanese, and an installation that's really rooted, I think, in Japanese kind of context. But as we're working on it, the network diagram really shows us how it's not just about that. So, yeah, I think in an ideal world, we'd just keep expanding it and expanding it.
But is that transferable, you think? For example, can you produce kasuri in the UK?
That's a really good question. I think that goes back to the knowledge being almost lost, from what I understand, in Japan. And wanting to somehow make sure that it stays alive and keeps going. I don't know that it feels like it's so inherently Japanese that it's perhaps not about transferring that to the UK, but like about looking at how we all can bring different elements together, I suppose.
I think I might understood wrong your question, so I feel a bit stupid. But I think it's we have to criticize the distance of the network, and something what I'm trying to do is like shorten as much as possible. So that's why we are looking for the resources around us, not imported from far. Because like our life is like so much depending on the global network, and if we lose it, probably we might die. But if we revise it little by little, or as much as we can, like I think in somehow we say in the range of our comfort. I don't want to say like we have to go back to the like Stone Age, but we can criticize like if we know like this product come from far, but this is like closer. So if we can choose this one, it's easier, right? So this is like we do everyday life probably when we go to shopping in the supermarket. But of course we can do when we do the architecture, because like if we trace all the resources, it's like we reach in some time into the planet, and we want to choose the shorter network than longer network.
but do we go back to the computer that the diagram was on? What do you mean? Sorry, I'm stupid.
ちょっと難しかった。Yeah, it was really a difficult question for me. Well, I think it's not for your question, but I was really surprised that the material how to use for the public space in here and from Japan is really different. I felt here. Yeah, and I'm still thinking how so different, like just like the guardrail or I don't know, especially in the public space. And then I don't know if in Japan most of the products are actually really produced in China or the other Indonesian countries, but still some sense of the sense of very different, like Japanese thing is still there. I don't know, not like we are now using the products from Indonesia or China. I haven't felt like that. So yeah, just that I'm still questioning by myself. But yeah, but it's an really interesting question, I think. Thank you.
How different is it? What's your observation of public space? I'm just curious. For example,
I feel it's really hard.
Hard here.
Hard. 硬い.
Yeah.
Strict design is strict or
hard material?
Hard material. Yeah, the material. How to use or fix the material is really hard and a bit bigger, maybe. Then
chunkier, more robust.
Yeah.
Health and safety.
Anti-vandalism.
Japanese one is more fragile or really soft for your skin.
That is true. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think both of you at different times talked about durability and about biodegradability, and it's nice to see it in this context, which is very temporary and so quite suitable for something that is biodegradable. But then you also have the workwear, which is very long-lasting, and someone might have had for 80 years. But I do wonder, when you try to move into buildings, people generally do want very durable buildings, and where there is a balance to be made between but that durability might come at the cost of, you machine dry the wood and you kill off all the fungus living in it and things like this. But where do you try and find that balance when you're moving into architecture, I guess?
Good question.
Yeah. So of course, we are architects, so we have a client who has a budget. So budget is one a criteria we have to balance it, and of course, also we have to judge when we design the architecture what's probably for example, museum for public museum for everyone to come, and also probably has to be strong for the catastrophe or disaster, must be probably used for good concrete, protected, and last probably designed for more than 1,000 years. But probably the house, for example, and the people's behavior changes, lifestyle changes, and need to adapt quickly, then can be a short life. But this house has to be designed with probably materials easily go back to the soil, making a cycle easily to change, flexible. So I think architect has to also judge this building, which is like asked to design, has to be long life or short life.
I was just thinking, because I think this perhaps is a slightly place where the conversation is slightly different in Japan than the UK, but perhaps it's also about thinking about the sort of shell of the house and that being something that might stay for longer than the interior, and maybe, you know, when you're looking at the interiors, maybe that's something more that is eventually going back to the ground and biodegrading, and thinking about the shell as something that's lasting for longer.
Well, we were discussing about the in Japan, people choose material for the comfortability, like LED, the story of the LED and organic LED, and I think some people choose the material really based on those なんて言うんですか、texture, or 見た目 beauty of those organic things. So I'm not sure. It's some usually for those small products, people really like those some products really なんだっけgenuine 本物みたいな。
genuine.
Real organic stuff, not like mixed or なんか pure. Yeah, not pure thing, but so maybe for then I think it's a really big difference from the building material and the small stuff material. But I'm really interested in to connect the sensibility for choosing this material for like the pure material, and also for the houses or the building itself. And some people really have the nice trial for that kind of pure material for the architecture. So, but it really depends on the client.
I think in terms of beauty, because I started to study architecture when Sana was like a top, and everyone designed at school minimum architecture or formalist architecture, and I thought this is very beautiful, and still I think. Then like when I started to work and practice, or like when I was master student, like Rakatan Basel became very famous, and like all the industrial materials looks really cool, like to me. Then like like this gradually global warming issue was kind of became main topic in this industry. Then also I started to bring my wood scrap into the soil, and I discovered that plywood doesn't go back to soil because it's literally glue. So I started to feel that like plywood I used like for fast building a lot because it's the cheapest and strong. I thought it's strong and also cool. But I started to feel a bit uncomfortable with this because it's also not, breathe. Also, so then like my understanding of beauty constantly changed with the knowledge. And it might be wrong because maybe the future, like me in the future judges differently, and I might be wrong. But now something like I feel beautiful is more like, this materials goes back to the soil. So I think knowledge is very important. and education is essential. And talking loud is very important as an architect. And sometimes we are a bit too loud to the client, but at the end they also understand a bit. Not totally, but I think it's also good to have a conversation with them.
Yes. Yes, please.
Hi there. I can't remember which one of yours projects it was, but this house which you were adding renovations and conversions while living in it. I've seen other architects do this before, and it's amazing, but it's often a complete death trap. And I think it's amazing that you did it while having young children in the house, and these kind of additions you made to make it safe. I'm just curious about your design process of how you did that while having children in the house.
Who's in the house? Okay. So this is my house with kids. This one. Yeah. So I think you feel it's dangerous.
Yeah.
So
I've seen other architects do similar things,
Yeah.
and it's often just an absolute death trap with all sort of open holes and electrics and stuff.
Yeah.
But you showed other images that you'd kind of made adaptations to have children in the house while you were doing this.
Yeah.
I was wondering, how did your design process change and your kind of thought process change?
Yeah. I think this is the house which is adapting with our life stage. Also reacting the change we have made or we are going to make. So I think of course now it looks dangerous because we moved in after just demolishing, but it was just the start to building again with interacting with our life. So that's why we rush to renovate the house when I was pregnant. Because a nail was sticking out from the floor, also a cable was hanging, and of course a holes looks dangerous for kids. So, but probably also it's necessary to change when we get older too. Probably the staircase need a handrail. We install the handrail. But if we don't need a balustrade anymore, after the kids is growing, we can also take it out. So it's like a clothes, we can change. If it's hot, we can wear. And if it's warm, we can take it out.
Suzuka-san, you also have children or child.
In my case, her house is adapting to her lifestyle, but I think my family is adapting to my house. So それだけ Yeah, that's it.
Educating them.
Yeah, my parents are over 70 years old, and my son was 4 or 5 years old when this house was completed. Then many people told me oh, that's crazy, it's so dangerous for them, but they are so happy for now. So people are really adapting to their environment, I think. But that was half joke and half it's the reality, I think. Yeah.
One point. I found that the materiality really interesting in both cases. So, and it was very interesting to see the bridal hat and this sort of sense. But, and actually, it's just an observation about the kind of the differences, because one is like a molding, and the other is obviously the timber frame, but also the woven fabric, and it reminds me of the sort of sense in which when you move beyond the isolated objects, there's a whole kind of cultural domain that one is working with. So with the fabric, with the product out of vegetable materials, it's rather reminiscent of felts, like the Kurdish world that uses felt for protection of the body, but also then has a kind of scaling for the yurt. And it's also scaled so that it can be put on a horse or a camel and moved. So the story goes on in a way, is what I'm saying. So I'm interested in both, but both are kind of have a nomadic instinct, it seems to me, wrapping up and being able to contain things. So I'm just interested in the speculation of the cultural narrative that comes with the two and where it might take you.
I think it's interesting because we are both using very thin materials, like meant to be fabric or leather. But I think Suzuko's one is you need a structure of the body, right? You have to wear or you have to hang. And I think which we designed is more like supporting our body. So it's similar, but it's a kind of contrasted. So
like threads and membranes.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like the nomadic comment as well because it's we really hope that it continues to travel, and almost like in years to come we'll just sort of stumble across it doing something we never would have imagined. Like who knows what will happen with it.
質問最終的に何が質問
その布というものっていうかそういうクローズで作ってるのがどういうことですよね。なんて言うんだろう。
Sorry, what was the question?
It's a good question and an observation because, like the bridal, headwear, this piece that it's between some incredible kind of extension of the body and a container of the body. So I was interested in your view of the cultural life that you envisage for your artifact or your product, which is really interesting. But how does it walk out of the door,
お嫁さんの帽子って体を包むものでありながら中の自分の皮膚の延長みたいな意味合いがある。ただその文化的なコンテクストで見た場合そうですけど、今そういう話を伺ったんですけど、この作品に出た時にどういう方向性に向かっていくかっていう。
Yeah. Yeah. We were still discussing. We were discussing about the after this exhibition, how to treat the material, and then Yuki told me that it's not gonna be, shaping like this for half a year. So it's okay for two months or 3 months for the exhibition, but if it gets humid or something, it changes the shape, or sometimes it gets a hole in it. So we're thinking about to put return it to the soil afterwards, I think. But that kind of fragile character is really interesting for us. Like our skin is always, changing, and some parts of the skin is, go away from our body. So just like our skin or body, it's really fragile, and sometimes it gets go back to soil. That's our that's our concept. But maybe it's still like that kind of fragile thing is connected to the Japanese product, but we are not really sure about it. But, yeah.
Yeah, it's time.
I'm afraid I'm going to wrap up. We're going to have a 20-minute break, and I'm sure that if you have more direct questions, I'm sure you would be happy to answer them. I think that was a really wonderful start to our afternoon. I think that I can't help but be reminded that, it's sort of, we have here the sort of design and beauty built in truth. I think aligns very well with this idea that our idea of beauty changes with knowledge. I think those two ideas come very beautifully together. One thing to add, this idea of the nomadic, is that all of these things came from Japan, or some of them didn't. Some of them were more local. But there was a constraint of how lightly they could touch the earth, how easily they could be transported, and along with this idea of trying not to build waste and a kind of a large carbon footprint. So we've tried to transport as little as possible, as lightly as possible. But thank you so much, all of you. Thank you so much, Takeshi. And we'll resume at 4 o'clock. So thank you. Good afternoon again. I know a few of you upstairs are still wandering around the exhibition. I'm so glad that you've had a little bit of a preview before our panel and our presentations this afternoon. I think this is a little bit of a change of pace from, I think, the very fragile to the almost much more robust. So I'm delighted to introduce our second panel, and I hope you enjoy what you see and enjoy the discussion that follows. Thank you for rejoining us.
Hello, I am Joe Nagasaka from Schema Architects. And
Hi, I'm Ikuya Sagara. I'm a Thatcher.
We built the bench table on upstairs with him. Did you see it? Yeah, okay. For this project, we thought about mixing two cycles, the human-centered cycle of cities and the nature-centered cycle of Satoyama, traditional Japanese countryside. The Satoyama cycle is beautiful, but it cannot solve the challenges of today's large population. So we wanted to create a hybrid of these two ideas. This concept became the focus on these works. We used two simple materials, kaya and scaffoldings, to create a system. This system allows us to make yatai that can look different in each country but follow the same design. The idea for this yatai came from the rooftop restaurant in Aoyama, Tokyo. The low roof and the feeling of bending slightly to enter reminded me of a street-side store. It felt cozy and special, so we used that design and called it yatai, which is between furniture and architecture. Let me share the process of making this. Since it was my first time working with kaya, I visited Mr. Sagara's studio to learn. His studio is 30 minutes north of Shin-Kobe Station in a beautiful Satoyama area with forest, rice field, and homes. In this natural cycle, he makes kaya in harmony with nature. I loved the balance of this environment, and when I went back to my steel structure office in the city, I wanted to design something that could connect the city and Satoyama. The design changed many times as we moved the project to different locations. Initially, the idea was to use the open space in front of this building. I was next on the upper terrace at first. We really wanted people to experience it outside. Finally, we made this version for this space, thinking about how it works with the chandelier above and the white cube. We also made it easy to take apart and move, so it can be used outdoor later. To connect this idea with the city, we used scaffolding materials, something often recycled in urban areas, and combined it with kaya. But we, but we faced a problem. On the day I left Japan, the scaffolding materials for the table and the seats didn't arrive on time. With only 5 hours before my flight, I went to a Home Depot store, bought new material, and rushed to the Haneda airport. I paid 40,000 for extra baggage fees and successfully took the material with me to London. At Heathrow Airport, I struggled at first, but with help from the kind staff member, I got outside. I spent a long time figuring out how to reach the AA. Since Mr. Sagara would arrive 7 hours later, I decided to go ahead. I carried 2 carts of materials to the taxi stand and finally reached the AA just in time. During this project, we stayed at the Allison and Charles house. Their hospitality was amazing, and it helps us focus on our work. Allison, Charles. I want to say thank you to them here. Building the yacht, I started with the scaffolding. At first, some parts were missing, and we had to do extra work. Luckily, the young staff from the Maeda construction helped us, and we finished the base in about 2 days. On the 3rd day, Mr. Sagara started working on the kaya roof. Yesterday, on the 4th day, it was finished. Watching him work was very beautiful. We also worked with students. 違うか。これまだ。We also worked with students at AA to make another project. Using the same kaya, they made mino, traditional Japanese raincoat that were used in the past when kaya roofs were common. This project shows that just like kaya can be a structure for building, human can also become part of the structure. Isn't it? Isn't it beautiful? Thank you for working together. Video.
I explain about thatching in Japanese because my English from hip hop a little bit dirty. Translation, please. 今回の技術的なことを少し補足しておくと、今回の作品は解体をしてもう一度運べるようにということなので、日本の仮説的なかやぶきの技術を用いました。
Right, I'll try my hip hop. No. So just to add, just want to talk about the technical side of this project. Fundamentally, this is removable and portable. So this is a Japanese traditional way to build thatched buildings.
Yeah, pass the mic. Okay. で、野菜の栽培とか、なんか3枚なんで適当に、果物の乾燥に使うためのかやぶきの屋根が日本にはあります。それは限られた期間限定の小屋なので、テントのようにしまえる必要のある技術です。この画像のようなもので、これは柿を干す小屋で、手前のやつはウドっていう野菜を栽培する小屋ですね。
So we use these thatched buildings to, as you can see, to dry vegetables and fruits. So we only use these buildings for very limited time, so hence the portability. So just like a tent, for example, bigger tent, you can just fold it and just keep it until next season. This one is for persimmon, drying persimmon, and also a wild vegetable called udo in Japan.
でこういう技術をですね、こちらで手配した蚊帳で作ることに、苦労はしましたが、なんとか完成することができました。で職人っていうのは体にいろんな技術をインストールして、でそれとその行った先の素材とが出会って何が生まれるかっていうのを見るのがすごい楽しみでもあります。以上です。
So technically, we sourced the materials locally in the UK. So it was quite interesting, and we managed to build this building. And what I like about being a craftsman, artisan, is that we've got this technique installed in myself. And how can I utilize that using the locally sourced materials? And that was a great challenge, and I really enjoyed doing this.
Thank you very much.
Should I go next? Okay. I can't see the. Okay. After Nagasaka-san's talking, it is really difficult to speak, but yeah, I'll try. And my name is Moto Chiba from Tsubame Architects, and this time we made a work called Wood Waste Micropub. And Tsubame Architects is a Tokyo-based architectural studio, and we right side you can see some project. This one is buildings redevelopment project in Shimokitazawa. We make a new shopping district, and also we made a park and garden tool shed for gardening club, and also we designed buildings for Maeda Corporation. You can this building is located in Maeda Corporation's facilities, and this time we collaborate with Hidakuma, and I'll pass to Iwaka-san.
Hi everyone. My name is Kotaro from Hidakuma. Hidakuma is a company located in Hida. we try to utilize the local broadleaf trees. For this purpose, we hold many workshops in the forest, manage cafe and guest house for stay programs, and use digital and traditional techniques for prototyping, and utilize them to furniture and architecture projects.
So today we want to start talking about the state of the mountain in Japan. When the World War II, we cut a lot of tree. So left side photograph is shows after World War II mountain. There's no tree, but after that we plant a lot of tree. So today you can see the right side photograph. This kind of landscape you can see. But this graph shows forest condition in Japan. Top graph shows changes in the area of the forest. Actually, the area of the forest is not so much changed from 1966 until today. But the bottom graph shows status of forest accumulation. The volume of timber to be used continued to increase. It means basically we are using the tree from abroad because it is cheap. So this photograph shows a mountain. No one touched in for management. So it will be rough like this. And this mountain, this kind of mountain causes a variety of disaster. And also like landslide. And in this day, it rains a lot because of the climate exchange. So now it will be a big problem. So basically, we have to think about how to use a local tree or how to use a local resource. And from this slide, we will talk about the Hida.
Hida is a city and area name that is located in center of main island in Japan. So the area is surrounded by high mountains. It takes about 5 hours from Tokyo to Hida. This map shows the forest stand in Hida. 94% of the area of Hida city is forest. And 2/3 of the forest are natural broadleaf trees. Main species are oak or beech, and partly there are zelkova and horse chestnut forest, and so many species is included in the forest. However, only about 5% of the material is actually used for furniture and construction. It's traded cheaply as chips for pulp. The upper left photo shows the center town of Hida city. You can see the forest surrounding the town. There is traditional circulation using broadleaf tree. Hida is famous for furniture production. Wood shavings from woodworking become a cow bed, and then those go to compost in vegetable farms. The upper left photo shows a typical natural forest in Hida. The forest area is steep and heavy snow in winter, so almost wood is bent. The average age of wood is around 70 years old age, but it's not big. This current situation that almost all wood bent or thin is one of the reasons why only why one of the reasons why 95% of materials are not used for furniture and construction. The most valuable way of broadleaf tree for forestry is furniture production, but this way is very limited. In this process of production, leaves and branches are leftovers in the forest. Almost wood becomes chips for pulp or mushroom bed, and millions goes to firewood, sawdust go to cow bed and compost. These are cheaper ways for forestry. We think this process is like a distillation process in industrial society. The materials not for production are like impurities. So we make distillation. So we make distillation of impurities not only in this exhibition but also previous our projects.
And Tsubame Architects and Hidakuma had already collaborated with some project. This is a project to make furniture with a thin wood. When there's just a thin wood, it is difficult to make one chair from one board. So we cut just a circle, and it is not enough for the one chair. But when you combine the 3 pieces, it will be the chair, and when you combine the 7 pieces, it will be at the bench. And also we challenge using the broadleaf tree for the architecture. And this building structure made by broadleaf tree. And also we use wood chip for the insulation. And also ceiling finish is wood chip board, which we made it. And this diagram shows the sawing process. Left side you can see the log. And at first log peeled, and we get the bark, and it will be the bed for the cow, and after that we just slice it, and center board like this one is easy to crack, so it can be used for the structure or furniture. So we use it for the door or floor or deck, and this kind of board we use it for the structure and furniture, and also the edge. This kind of edge normally go to the chopsticks factory, but as this process we can get the wood chip, so we use this for the insulation. And also process of woodworking, we made a board like this, and we use it for the ceiling and the wall. And yeah, we can get this kind of size of the board, and it is not large to use a building. So we made a truss like this way, and we constructed as a sandwich of board, and where the this image shows where force applied a lot. This red part applied a strong force. So this part we use 4 pieces of board like this, and this part is not so strong. We just put the 2 pieces. Then it looks like this. And also Hidakuma makes original coffee with good smells tree. And also sometimes we go to camp and we cook the curry rice with broadleaf tree. From this kind of experience, we are aware the difference between the general design process. For example, when you try to cook, maybe at first you check the recipe, and after that you go to the supermarket and you got the vegetable or beef or something like that. Then you can make the dish. And architecture also, we can start planning, because at this moment we can get a lot of standardized materials, so it is easy to design. And then we can make the architecture. But I think I can say this process is planned and scheduled. But if you try to start from the thinking from the resource around us, maybe at first we have to check what kind of materials we can use, and the next step we have to think. We need to dialogue with materials, and we need to experiment and verification, and we have to do this kind of process, repeat and repeat. After that, we can make the curry rice or also the architecture. Okay, introduction is finished. Then I will talking about the wood waste micropub, like this one. So this time we decide to start to use the waste materials. This photograph shows Hidakuma's storage. And at first we picked some materials from here. And after that we did make a prototype and with bricolage. And after that we measure it and make a modeling. And then we can start to planning and make a sketch like this way. And we did this kind of process, repeat and repeat. So in May, this is the first version, and we sketched, and this is the second version, and sketched. And third version, we are a little bit exhausted, so we hold a pub in Japan. And next step, we have to think about the detail. And next step, we make these kind of things. And at the same time, for this exhibition, we have to think about how to install this object for the gallery. So and also we have to thinking about the shipping. So we decide to make the box with broadleaf tree, like this one. And this kind of board also can use for the benches and counter. And also we have to think about the detail which can easily assemble and also easily disassemble. So we study from traditional joint like this one, and we made a study model. And in the exhibition, you can see this kind of traditional joint called Kanawa joint. Then this is instruction, and now we can assemble it just with a hammer and read this instruction. Maybe a lot of people can make it. So I will show on the movie. At first we unpacked like this and put the base and make a frame and connect with beams. ちょっと長めですね、これね。And after that, we use a box board for the counter and made a bench like this. And we did the roofing and finished. Okay. ありがとうございます。ありがたい。Thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, it is not finished. Sorry. Thank you for your clapping. And this is axonometric. So for the base, we use the edge of log, and for the counter, we use bented wood. It's normally thrown away from in forest, and we use a piece of wood for the joint and for shelves. And we use leftover flooring as the beams. and we use thin and twisted wood for the main pillar, and we use a branch for the roofing and the small pillars. And also we use when we make a straight bow, we cut the edge. So normally we throw away, but we use it for the pillar and beams. Then this is a relationship diagram from forest production. For example, here is a bench project. When you make this product, we get some edge of board, so we use it for the box. And also, when Hidakuma made the original coffee, we get a lot of branches. We use it for the roofing. So then, in this way, we can find how to utilize the broadleaf tree, and it is, for me, it is really happy we can feel they have the connection between the forest and what we eat and what buildings made by or something like that. And actually, this is pub, but I find in the daytime it is useful for the co-working space. We can working as Ashura. And yes, this is last slide. And actually, why we wanted to make the object something which has a relationship with the British culture. So we decided to make a pub. It's really simple, but a pub, originally meaning the public house. I think it is space providing to discuss. So we want to discuss with this pub about local resource or about the forest with alcohol. And today we prepared whiskey and we put the broadleaf tree. It's changed taste a little bit. So this is alcohol made by distillation. So please enjoy it after this symposium. Finish this. Yeah.
It's an absolute. Is this on? Yeah. It's an absolute pleasure to have seen your work and to be able to discuss it with you all. So just to introduce myself, my name is Silvana Taher. I've been teaching at the AA for several years now. I also studied Vishin for 2 years. So I think I might start with a question which I think I could open to all of you. It seems to me that in each instance, there's a very intimate relationship, and I use the word relationship on purpose, between you and your craft. So I kind of have a two-part question. First of all, if it would be okay for everyone to say a little bit about how that relationship developed, whether it is with a specific location or with two instances of a specific location or an attitude to material, and how you've cultivated that over the years.
誰からいきますか。
あ、いいですか。すみません。相良さんとは本当初めて今回のプロジェクトを通してお付き合いしてるんですけど、でただ周りが非常に知り合いがなんかもうすでに僕を超えた、僕の友達と相良さんの友達が結構共通だったりして、だんだん仕事をしていく間にこうネットワークが築かれ、そこにさらにうちの娘もインターンで加わり、こうなんとなく家族ぐるみでなんとなくこう関係が作られてきて、信頼関係ができているところで、必要なことを的確に聞いていくことができるような関係ができた。あとはやはり現地に行ってどういう仕事をしているかっていうのを一通り見せてもらったのが大きいかなと思いました。
Talking of the relationship, this is my first time to work with Mr. Sagara, actually, for this project. But I knew of him before. We've got mutual friends, or I know somebody who worked with him before. So it was kind of like really good network of friendship. And also my daughter joined the project as an intern. So that created another sort of added family sort of environment. So we had a really good mutual trust between us and as a team on the whole. Oops. So because of that trust, I think we managed to finish what we wanted as we wanted it. Without we had a really good communication system. And also I went to see his work before we started it. So I had a really clear picture of what we both wanted to do before we started.
さっきちょっと僕が喋ったのにもつながるんですけど、関係性と言われると本当に全部関係性の中で成り立っていて、どこの地方の蚊帳を使うのかとか、どういう場所、ロケーションとかも含めてどういう場所で作るのかとかっていうのの、常にこうフィードバック、小さなものから大きなものまでフィードバックを繰り返して何がベストかって。でしかも今回長坂さんっていう人も関わってるので、その人であり場所であり素材でありのいろんな関係性の中で自分にとってもそうですし、みんなにとっても何がベストかみたいなところを探し続けてるのがこういう職人っていう仕事かなっていうふうには思います。ずっとこうチューニングしてるというか、ジャズのセッションのような即興性というか、みたいなものを感じながら楽しみながら、毎回仕事していると思います。はい。
As I said earlier, you're quite right about this relationship thing, because the relationship is everything. When I'm making my works, I'm constantly thinking of where should I source kaya. And also I'm conscious about the location that I'm making this work on. Again, communication and relationship is really important. And anything big or small, we always give feedback to each other. So I worked with I worked with him today, this time. And again, it's been great. And we both searched for what would be the best for both of us, for everyone in this project, including here. And I think that's one of the best parts of being an artisan, being a craftsperson. So I'm constantly fine-tuning everything. And just like a jazz improvisation, just looking on here and there. And hip hop.
Yeah, hip hop. Freestyle.
He says freestyle.
2点ちょっといいですか付け足して、なんか今回もずっとその相良さんと一緒に生活をしている中で、やはりそもそも茅ってもう日本では新築で使えなくなっているものがどうして必要なのかとか、どう残していくのかとかっていうふうなことをよく話してたんですけど、まあそれはなんかそこに限らず農業だったり、なんか他のクラフトだったり、今日本がたくさん抱えている問題とかなりリンクしていて、そこのなんか話がこのずっとプロジェクトを通しながらできたのが非常になんか僕にとっては成果で、少しなんかそういう世界をちょっと理解を進められた気がします。そういう関係をずっと作れたのかなと思います。
And to add on to that, we really deepen our relationships throughout this project. Kaya in Japan, we don't use that. We actually can't use that for new built buildings. So we had a whole loads of discussions about this. So why do we want to do this now? And also, how can we preserve this kaya? So we talked a lot about this. And obviously, the agriculture is related to this, and we discussed about other crafts. I think everything is sort of linked to the issues that we have in Japan at the moment. So we had really, really deep dialogues between each other, and I think it was really fruitful, and that showed on our works as well. And I think I have a little more understanding about the world now after this project, I think.
For utilizing the local materials, we have to know more deeply the situation of local environment. And we always get a lot of information and inspiration from the nature. So he and me and his staff and my staff all together sometimes going to camping, fishing, getting sauna, and climbing mountain all together in the forest side. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is actually really important because when we go to camp and make a curry rice and we use it for the broadleaf tree, we can feel the connection between the nature and my body. And also when we make the furniture or architecture with the broadleaf tree, they have a relationship between the nature and products and food. So I think it is really important feeling. And also, Hidakuma has they are based on Hida, so they had a kind of the strong connection between the local carpenters or local good furniture product professional. And for this project, at first we just prototype by ourselves, and we have an image, but it is really difficult to assemble. But when we talk with a carpenter, we find a lot of new detail or something like that. So we feel the process to find the detail or process to dialogue with material is really important for us. And after that, we can find what should we make or something like that.
Thank you very much. I think, sorry, I forgot to pick this up. So one of the beautiful things that has happened in your replies is you've all understood the question partly as a relationship between people and culture, but also as a relationship between people and land. And I think that comes back, Mr. Joe, to this beautiful blurring that you did at the beginning about trying to find the moment of weaving between the kind of the human-centered design and what you call nature-centered design. Exactly. So this is a slightly exactly, yeah. Yeah. And no, or maybe even the one before. And yeah. So I think this might be the right image, because I suppose it seems to me that what's so central in developing this kind of architecture, an architecture that comes with story, with an understanding of materiality, with accident, with imprecision or imperfection in the most beautiful way, that the thing that it requires is time. And my question is, does this requirement of time restrict the kind of architecture you can make? By that I mean, is it possible to take a kind of slow, attentive approach to materiality and people and relations into a kind of larger, well, on a basic level, into larger architecture? Or does it have to remain at this scale? And I hope the answer is.
基本僕多分そのインプロビゼーション的なところを楽しむ、本当に物を持ってきてそのトラブルっていうか事故みたいな感じで、ああいうところも全然楽しくて、その限られた中でいろんな事故が起こって、その中でこう答えていくのとかがもうとにかくなんか大好きなんですよ。だからそこはもう本当に何の問題もないんですけど、もちろん同時にこれ作りながらもっとでかいのできるなっていうことを多分相良さんに言ってたと思うんですけど、なのでそれは両方の可能性が全然あると思います。
So it's pretty much as he said earlier, like improv for me. I enjoy the whole process. So bringing things here, accidents, troubles, as I told you earlier, and I enjoy everything, including all of the imperfections, if you like. And I also like working within the limited time as well. That's a good challenge. I enjoyed that process. So I'm always acting and reacting to the situation, circumstances as it comes along. So I don't really see problems as problems. It's all part of it. But while we were working on it, I was saying to Mr. Sagara that we could do a bigger stuff. So it was actually on our mind constantly.
Wonderful.
ボクシングのリングを作りたいなと思ったんですけど、いやなんかそう今やってるプロジェクトでなんかボクシングのリングを作るっていうね、かやぶきのいいなと思ったんですけど。
You know what we want to make? A boxing ring using kaya.
Fantastic. Would you like to answer?
Sorry? But time? そうですね、油断してました。Maybe actually about this project, we did kind of the process to make it and change it or something like that, and again. So I feel it's doesn't finish at this moment also. So maybe the time scale of the when we think about the relationship between the materials, and the time scale can be I feel item scale can be changed with how to say it, project の単位ってなんて言うんですか unit of the project, but so actually we already did some project for the furniture and buildings, and this time the pub, but it's have a still
Relation.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
I think there is annual circulation of the forest. For example, in winter, heavy snow, snowing, and in spring, snow will be melted down. And in summer, the trees pump up a lot of water and grown up. So only in autumn we can cut down the tree in Hida. So I hope the project time schedule depends on the forest annual circulation. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. I think there's there's obvious parallels between the two collaborations and the two projects that have arisen. In your instance, you gave the example of you made a comparison between architecture and cooking, where we start not with a recipe but with the ingredient. I think what's inherent in that is an idea that you must first learn, you must first understand the ingredient and then react to it. Mr. Joe, you spoke of acting and reacting. And I can't help thinking, as someone who's very interested in the history of architecture, who's very aware of, particularly in the European tradition, of the history of architecture, that it comes less from the idea of reacting and more from the idea of acting. Even our very vocabulary around architecture, the idea of a project comes from the idea of projecting or acting onto the land. It seems to me that what you're both doing, or both groups, are doing, is a completely different. It's not a project in the act of projection. It's almost well, it's a response. And so I'm gonna leave you with one last thought or question before I turn it over to the audience. You mentioned, Mr. Joe, I'm coming back to you again. And I apologize for my pronunciation, which I'm sure will be bad. Yatai,
Correct.
which is correct?
Yes.
Which is furniture architecture. Is that right?
It's a kind of
temporary thing.
It's a temporary thing. Okay.
Temporary architecture too.
Like
Temporary.
small shops.
Okay. 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 So I tell you why I ask about that in the context of the UK. The discipline of architecture is being reconsidered. The powers that be, I don't mean within the school, I mean within, on a national level, are considering whether we are training in the right way with the right kind of program. And so I put this question, as we right here in London, in the UK, think about what architecture could be or how we might teach it. I wonder if you can maybe help us and tell us how ideas of yatai, how ideas of acting and reacting, or building with ingredients or cooking with ingredients might help us think about the way we study and learn about architecture. It's a really big question. This might be too big.
Then, what do you think of that?
Yes.
それについてどう思いますか？そのこの意見についてぜひ皆さんの意見を伺いしたいんですけども、全員からそうですお願いします。
いやもうナチュラルにそれ以外できないっていうのは僕の考えです。本当になんか多分僕建築家になりたいと思って建築家になってるわけではなくて、なんとなくそういうこう周りにいる、今回だったら相良さんがいて、こういう人がかっこよく見える状況をどう作るかっていうことを多分考えているので、だからその状況反応ですよね。多分それが何よりも大事っていうのはあって、そこはやっぱ豊かで、その分可能性がたくさんあるんで、なんか上り詰めちゃうと世界が小さく見えちゃうんですけど、なんかこうそんだけ巷にたくさん可能性があるとすると世界が広く感じる、それだけでも僕は幸せっていう感覚でものを作ってますけど。
Yeah, I mean, I can't do anything else. I can't do it in any other way. I became an architect, but not because I wanted to be an architect. I happened to be one. And so on this project, I worked with Mr. Sagara. And what I was thinking was, right, how can I make him look cool? And he was like, wow, thanks very much. I didn't think of that. And that is the result. It's all about the circumstance and situation. And I think reacting is one of the most important aspects of my work, or probably broadly speaking, architecture. And I think that would enrich the potential possibilities that we have. And the problem probably with what you said about having a right education, etc., is you have to climb to the top. So there's a top that you have to reach, right? And once you reach the top, the world would look small. And I think that would killing the potential. You wouldn't be able to see what surrounds you, what's like underneath you. That would crowd your viewpoint. And I find that would be really boring. And as a creator, I'm very happy to keep reacting to the things that's coming to me, and I get tremendous pleasure out of doing that.
なんだろうな。なんか日本ってあんまりというか人間が真ん中にいないっていうのがあって、例えばヨーロッパに来ていつも思うんですけど、教会の鐘ってなんかすごい高いところで高い音が鳴ってるんですよ。でも日本のお寺さんの鐘って低いところで低い音が鳴ってて、なんか感じがすごいこう西洋と日本の差を表しているような気もするなっていうふうにずっと思ってて、なんか人間と人間以外のものが同じ地平にいるような感覚があって、でなんかおそらくなんですけど、今回その上流っていうテーマなんですけど、上流ってなんかこう、すごい意図的に熱を加えて何か変化を起こすんですけど、なんか日本人どっちかっていうと発酵みたいなものに近いのかなっていうのがあって、どっちかというとなんか、それこそ関係性の中で何かがふつふつと発酵して湧き立つのをただただ待ってるような感覚がなんか僕が仕事する上ではあります。なのでなんかなんていうんですかね、その西洋の方から見るとすごい、消極的に見えるかもしれないんですけど、なんかそういうなんだろうな、全部自分でコントロールするんじゃなくて、ある程度なんかこの自分以外のものに委ねながらより良いものができる環境を作っているみたいなところが日本人にあるのかなと思います。ごめんなさい、ちょっと難しいですね。はい。すみません。
Right. Sometimes I feel like in Japan, things are not really human-centric. going back to the difference between here or Europe or the West and Japan is, I actually think about that a lot when I come to Europe. When I see or hear the church bells. Church bells are in the tower, so in high up, and also the sound, the pitch is higher compared to the Japanese temple. So the Japanese temple, the bells are in a lower place, and also sounds low as well. So, and I think that shows a great contrast between Japan and the West. So I think, in Japan we tend to think that humans and non-humans are on the same ground. We don't really differentiate that much. So say take distillation, the theme of this exhibition. So for distillation, we add heat and change the ingredients, materials. In Japan, we use fermentation a lot for making alcohol as well. So fermentation is a natural process. So it's pretty much about the relationship and ingredients. So we let the ingredients fermentate. We just wait and look at what happens next. And I think it's the same for my work. It might look a little bit sort of passive from the Westerners' viewpoint, but it's about not controlling everything. It's about waiting to see what happens and let it be. So I feel like I'm making the environment rather than a thing or an object, or I'm working with the environment, if you like. I made it all up.
So actually, I really agree with Sagara-san's and Jo-san's comment. And as Iwakwa-san said, we have to adjust the rhythm of the forest. It is really important because, and also in Japan, we had a lot. We are using a lot of trees and also straws, which has a rhythm. We have to adjust for, like that kind of non-human things. But maybe in actually last week we went to Hook Park to sit, and we drive, but in UK we couldn't find the forest because I read a book because maybe 400 years ago you have a forest, but your country is really good at to use iron work and maybe the relationship between the nature is changed a lot. So after that, maybe we have a difference, I think, and yeah. So that's yeah. That's
we know the resources is limited, so we have to share the limited resource. So yeah. So I think Mio-san told the almost same. So we don't get the materials far away. We should at the first time we should observe our surroundings. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I'm going to hand over to the audience. I'm sure everyone's very keen. So if anyone has a question, I will pass over the mic. And maybe whistle as well, because I don't know how good my eyesight is. So. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Hello. Thanks for talking. Is this one? Yeah. In regards to the pub, I just thought it was really interesting, this like organic and quite intuitive way of working, but then your mode of representation in drawing is this kind of how-to diagram. I was just wondering about the relationship between those two things.
Sorry, I couldn't hear well.
I think working intuitively and the how-to diagram.
This diagram, you mean?
The axonometric.
Or the instructions.
Just a moment.
No.
This one?
There you go.
This one?
I think so.
You mean? And the question is how to make this drawing, you mean? Or?
No, I think she means you work intuitively, like with what you find. But this is very precise. And what's the relationship, maybe?
Yeah, because yes, at first we just make with the feeling, and after that we need to control it a lot. So when in the process we change a little bit and makes really fixed scale and something like that. So it's been I think it is not already planned process. Maybe it is a I already say about this process difference. So for this kind of things, we need to do the repeat and repeat for this part. And I feel, I think it is kind of similar with distillation process.
Hi, I had a question for Joe. I really liked your comment on about climbing to the top and not being able to see the what's around you. I wondered in this. Nowadays, it seems like everything goes very fast and everything is very big. Do you think that your methodology of reaction rather than action is compatible with this kind of big scale, big architecture? Or do you think it's maybe a way to stop doing that and start doing everything in a very small scale?
いや多分なんかこの例えばこのイギリスだと結構難しいなって思って見てるんですけど、なんか結構日本ってダメなものがいろいろこう街に転がっているので、選択肢が非常に多いんですよね。でそのダメなものをなんかちょっとこういいものにできると、これだけもっとたくさんいろんな可能性があるのかなっていうことを思って僕は世界が広くなるって言ってるんですけど、やっぱりロンドンはすごく綺麗ですよね。だからなかなかそういうのを感じることはできないなって思っていました。でなんですけど今の答えに答えられてないような気がするんですけど、大きさスケールの話ですか、スピードの話ですか、どっちなの？
Right. Okay, I've got a question for you too. So, well, say I think it's very difficult in the UK. Say in Japan, when you look around, there are lots of things that are horrible, and you see a lot of stuff. You think, so that means that would give me lots of options to work on, right? So I'm constantly thinking, all right, I can do it better. I would change here and there. But that's what I mean by the world will be bigger because there are so many options and potentials. But London is structurally beautiful. So I don't really see these horrible stuff. So, but I know I'm not really answering your question. And So you want to know about the scale or the speed you're asking about?
I wondered because, I mean, I really like the work that you do, and I think that there's a sensibility to it that goes in hand with the scale, the fact that you can react to an existing structure. And when there's these architects that we're used to seeing that make the very big buildings or maybe whole neighborhoods, is there a way to keep this kind of sensibility when you're approaching that, or is the goal now maybe only working on the existing, so that we can maintain this kind of I don't know.
まあ別にあんまり大きいのが嫌いとか好きとかそういうのないんですけど、ただ小さいものでも生き残れるなんていうんだろう、稼ぎ方っていうなんて言ったらいいのか、小さいものでもそれをちゃんとお金に変えて自分が活動を続けられる状況をどう作るかってことは結構クリエイティブに考えてますけど、なので継続できると思ってはいますけど、で今も今回ずっと相良さんと話してたの、今一番コンビニよりもたくさんある日本にたくさんある神社をもうあと10年か20年ぐらいでたくさん朽ちていくんですけど、それ一人でこう例えば会社を大きくするか小さくするかって言った時に一人でもう一回できる仕事を探しみたいなので言うと神社ちょうどいいなと思ってて、それをこう神社を渡り歩きながら仕事できたら面白いなとか思ってそんなことも考えてます。
I don't really think in terms of scale actually. I don't have any preference whatsoever about small architecture or large-scale projects. But what I tend to think, I try to think, I'm thinking is that doing something small, but how can we survive in doing that? How to monetize it really, rather than looking at that huge project that would earn a lot of money. So, and I enjoy thinking about it because it's very creative, and also I'm thinking of a creative way to do so. Doing what I do, and how to carry on, make it feasible financially. And again, we were discussing that together while we were working on this project. And there are so many convenience stores in Japan, right? Do you know what's more in terms of number, more than convenience store? Shrines. There are more shrines than convenience stores. I don't know whether it's surprising or not. But in about 10, 20 years, they will all go. They're just very old shrines, so they are not going to last forever. So I'm working for myself. So I thought, I can do it on my own. I can go to these shrines one by one, see what I can do to restore these things. And I think as an architecture, a shrine is a good size for me, I think. And so we can walk around and looking at shrines, oh yeah, that needs doing something. And I think I would enjoy it, and I think that could be fun.
I think we might squeeze one last question.
Hi, I'm sorry this question may be a little bit long. My name is Freya, and I was fortunate enough to participate Shen's workshop with Maeda like 2 years ago. Yeah, and then I was firstly introduced with the concept of yatai over there, and it was a really rich educational experience. And something I found personally in the way of education I got over there is that we had to collaborate with local students from Geidai, and then we have to communicate in English with them. It was an interesting dynamic because it was bilingual, but also they have to use a language that they weren't really familiar with. And then it became sometimes a lot personal because we have to challenge our way of using the language. And then I noticed also here today, we're also in a bilingual setting, and then a lot of the way we interpret things are very different. So I wanted to ask if you guys find any interesting thoughts about being here in London in this English environment, but promoting a culture that we are not really familiar with, and is really rich. Thank you.
そうですね。Yeah, it is really difficult because actually for this discussion, actually it's really difficult to reply in English. So we have to think more simply or something like that. So we have to think how to say more easy way or something like that. But the process to make the exhibition was it was really interesting because we need to help from members, and we had to do a lot of conversations. And yeah, sometimes we can't maybe say correct way, but somehow we can make it. So I feel this kind of process is really interesting, and this from this kind of process, and maybe some outcome of the project is a little bit changed, and maybe it is really interesting for me.
Actually, this is first time to visit London for me, so I don't know what changed in me. So, but I got a lot of inspiration from visit to Fookbak. Yes, Fookbak. I saw they create their environment and community, and how to make fabrication system themselves by themselves. So yeah, I think we can do more things back to Hida. Yeah.
なんか僕結構英語喋れないんですけど結構半分ぐらい海外の仕事をしているんですよ。でやはりもちろんなんか西洋と日本行き来すると思考が全く違うんで。すごく自分客観的にものを見る視点をいただけるんで非常に僕の頭をこう整理するにはいい機会だと思って機会があれば来ているしお仕事させていただいています。そして今回は、短時間だったんでもうかなり集中してものを作っていたのですごくコミュニケーションそういう意味のコミュニケーションを取ったかというとその期間においてはもちろん泊まらせてもらったアリソンさんとかああいう方々とはよく話しましたけど、今回、そんなになかったんですけどその手伝ってくれた方々にもうちょっと僕英語喋れるのかなと思ってたんですけどなかなか伝えるの大変だなと思いつつも完璧にできてるんで問題なかったのかなって思ってるんですけど止まんない話ですいません。
Right. So I don't really speak English really well, but somehow my half of my work comes from abroad, outside Japan. So I go abroad quite a lot, and I mean, you meet different people, and I feel difference in culture. And I think I learn quite a lot. I can see myself objectively from a different culture. And I just find it really interesting and a very good opportunity to clear my head or organize my ideas and thoughts. So I'm happy, and I want to work internationally more, and take an opportunity. I would grab the next one. So for this project, it was really short for the prep. So everything was super focused. So, but then again, looking back, did I communicate a lot? I'm not quite sure. But obviously I had to speak to Alison, who kindly put me up, and let me stay, and I had to really speak, and that was great. But, I had great helpers to build the project, and I honestly, to be honest with you, I thought my English was better. So the communication was really hard, and that was probably why I say that I didn't communicate enough. But everything's great, the end product is fantastic, so all ends well is very well. So I'm really happy. And he said, oh yeah, does it mean that you think you're great? And probably yes.
僕の場合もジョーさん以上に英語が喋れないのにすごい海外で仕事をしてるんですよ。で僕の場合なんかこう仕事で語れるところが結構あるので、なんかいわゆる言葉が喋れなくても最終的にはなんとかなるっていうちょっとラッキーな面があったりするとは思います。でもなんかやっぱりある程度説明しないといけないので少なくて汚いヒップホップの英語を引き出すとですね、考え方をシンプルにしてくれるっていうすごいいいなんか、要素もあり、あと、僕おじいちゃんおばあちゃん子だったんですけど、なんだろう、言葉を介しないコミュニケーションっていうのがすごく多かったので、なんか、例えば日本ってなんか横並びが多いんですよ。こういう縁側とか、あと農作業の時の田んぼのあぜとか、こう向かい合わないんですよね、座る時に。でこう横に並んでいい天気やなって言ってるだけなのに、なんかねエアドロップでめっちゃ重たいデータを送ってくるみたいななんかこう今なんか渡されたみたいながあって、なんか言語を介しないコミュニケーションでコミュニケーションをよくしてきた方の日本人なので、やっぱこう海外に行った時にこうどうしてもこぼれ落ちてしまうようなニュアンスがあるっていうのがなんかずっと歯がゆいんですけど、これはなんかもう仕方がないし、作ったものでその言葉が足りないとこを補えればいいかなと思って海外でなんか仕事したりとかしています。はい、またちょっとごめんなさい、ややこしいあれですけど。じゃあヒップホップで。
Right. Right. My English is worse than Joe's. So yeah, but again, the same thing. I work abroad quite a lot, and wonder why. But I mean, I can't speak English really well, but I think my work speaks louder. And I think I'm really lucky in that respect. So I don't explain much verbally. Or if I do, or when I do, it's more like hip-hop English, and people are so kind to understand my hip-hop English. But what happens when you're trying to communicate in a language that you don't really speak is that you think more, and you try to extract or distill the essence of what you want to say, what you're trying to make. And also what helps me doing that is I spent a lot of times with my grandparents. So I did a lot of non-verbal communications. And in Japan, you might have seen the movie, we don't really sit opposite, we sit side by side, say, sitting at the doorway or window, looking at the garden, or like when you're planting rice plants, you plant side by side. You say like, oh yeah, it's lovely weather, isn't it? Yes, it is. So it's So, when I was spending time with my grandparents, it's like an airdrop, doing the airdrop, and you get huge file by, the airdrop. And whoa. So the non-verbal aspects of the communication is massive. So I'm really used to that. So that is kind of frustrating because it doesn't work like that when you go abroad. In London, you try to talk to people who are helping me. So it's really frustrating. But I think what I miss out on the verbal communication, I think my work can support that. So again, I'm very fortunate in that respect, I think.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think it's like the perfect note to end on. But we're going to thank you. It was really fantastic, hugely entertaining, and really moving. We're going to take about a 15-minute break, and then you all have to come back so you can hear how it all began. So, 15-minute break. Welcome back for our last session. You've had a wonderful afternoon, I hope, that's been highly amusing, I think extremely inspiring, but a wonderful moment to reflect on where these relationships started. I think it's been 32 years since we've had a relationship with Soji and the Maeda Corporation. It's been an extraordinary journey, and I'm going to very rapidly hand over to Shin, who will, I think, tell the story from the beginning, maybe not in that particular order. And we can start to what I think is a very important celebration of a very rich and a very long-standing relationship. So over to you, Shin.
Is it working? Yes. Yeah? You can hear very clear? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Also, yes, we would like to really thanks to Soji Maeda and the Maeda Corporation staff. They've been here since early this week, and they're fully involved in setting up things. But in fact, we also been communicated for great lengths of time and over the generations of the different staff. And Soji and I knew each other for 10. We are very young. But 32 years means also it was his father who also consolidated some kind of a very interesting relationship between two very different type of institutions. And then also the type of work and research and activities also evolved over quite a long period of time. So for us, it actually means very much to our environment as a house, and the generosity of Maeda Corporation, which actually still trusting us at the same time, willing to engage in many different levels of communication and development. Yeah. So I think many people may wonder what kind of company Maeda Corporation is. So I may just take a bit of freedom to represent Maeda Corporation as if I'm part of Maeda, but not as a part of AA somehow. So maybe try to balance between. So I have an invisible hat, say Maeda Corporation. Yeah. So 1919, so Maeda Corporation established in Fukui district, hydraulic dam construction. It's actually, Fukui is not so far from the Hidakuma, the base in that woodland. As you see, there's lots of water resource. So civil engineering construction company run by family. So at the same time, 1990, I just tried to put this reference. So this is a Piccadilly Circus in 1919, actually. Yeah. Since then, Maeda Corporation does infrastructure work, landscape management, and the construction method. They have a laboratory and also testing facilities, and also design team as well, design office, Tokyo and Osaka, and have a quite reliable team, which either work with leading architects as well as they are independently develop some technique and testing and applying somehow. So it's very difficult to explain, but multi-city, having head office in Tokyo, and also they're sending some the educator in different developing country to supervise infrastructure work as well as environmental issues as well. So it seems on the right-hand side is once it's been longest bridge in Asia, in Hong Kong, called Stonecutters Bridge, which lost a bit of status. It's the second longest now. Actually, yeah. So, Piccadilly Circus in 1919, and on the left-hand side, may represent a bit of Maeda's, very, very different aspects of it. I would explain you in the next slide, yeah. So, Maeda also have a fantasy department. So, what they do is quite exciting because the young team call themselves as fantasy department. So they pick up something like a Gundam. Then they make a very good estimation how much is going to take, cost and duration and engineering method, come up with a really astronomous amount of estimation actually, but come as a hobby, but actually they have become very good at it. So they even made the films and movie based upon Maeda Corporation and Fantasy Department, which anybody wanted to watch
I have
it?
a copy.
Yeah. There's on display. You cannot play it from the exhibition, but yeah, quite. So this is the Gundam in full scale. One in Yokohama. Then they built it for Osaka exposition. So this one, the move up and down and walk. Yeah. So it's actually for them. It's also challenges. So they want to see how that can become possible, and how they realize in certain familiar object, but just try to take it very seriously as a kind of exercise and challenge for themselves. So Maeda Corporation headquarters and also testing lab, and there is also old unused local school. They try to convert into ICI camp, which engage with locals and also inviting certain workshop activities or education as well. And but I think currently the idea of distillation or reusing or recycling, which actually current interest they start developing. So besides those infrastructure scale and ingenuity, which are enormous resource, but at the same time they are relocating of historic or heritage building. And in the middle, again, how to strip some kind of commonly known, less interesting school building, which are left quite empty all over Japan. So they try to take initiative to finding the way to refurbish. And on the right, it's also their technique to use the building waste, then try to turn into ceramic work. So they are actually hands-on process and small scale as well as larger operations. So somehow, that's why I said it's quite difficult to explain whole range of things cover. And I think they try to also situate themselves not as civil engineering, but maybe civic engineering, and how to socially engage with certain rural area or community, because they see a future responsibility of construction company perhaps cannot continue as a building itself as a construction. There's lots of conversation came out today, which is quite sharing similar kind of ideas and concern, I think. So relationship to Maeda, which is 1992, and I just wanted to point out within this, there might be 3 or 4 people who currently teaching at the AA. So there's young Sylvie. Yeah, do you notice? Yeah, and Tinari, and myself, Errant, and
John Lopez.
John Lopez, yes, yeah, very spotted, yeah. So then Soji, yeah, as well, on the left, in front of Bear, yeah. So, in a way, I think that for the kind of generosities, they were actually willing to engage whatever the event or condition we share, and open up some construction site or looking at some technology developing, and also engage or try to encourage the younger staff to motivate it by having kind of conversation, direct conversation between our students and their staff as well. So this is the first architects exhibition 1992, took place in the same gallery, and this front members room, we had a dinner, which actually we repeated yesterday. Very, very different type of people. And yeah, those 5 architects came, they are about to retire from the practice, so it will be a great opportunity to acknowledge who would be this time, who would represent cultural or maybe economical climate of Japan, which reflected upon how they practice or how they think. So it's for us, it's also opportunity to actually reflect, no? Yeah, some changes as well. So, of course, Koshirakura workshop. We have a young Takeshi, looks very handsome. Yeah, no? So, yeah, who actually chaired one of the conversation today. So that is one of the longest continuous project. Maeda also send younger staff and working with locals with us and maintain some kind of continuity, slow but repeat, and kind of response to some kind of mainly climate and social changes as well. And here, construction site, we did also project with AA student dismantling old apartment which are due to demolitions in the construction site led by Maeda Corporation. So we begin to look at some of what reuse, recycle, reassemble. So how disappearing part of the building can be part of architectural reference as well. So, so in a way, whole time cycle of how built environment could be actually offer some educational or maybe challenging or some sort of art project as well. Twisting concrete, play with non-cement base concrete with rendering technique and fabric. So something we can offer in Hook Park, certain duration of time we can experiment and pushing some sort of ideas and material knowledge further. Then there's 3 projects at this moment. We are continuously running. One is Koshirakura, as I mentioned, and on the right-hand side we do furnishing the landscape workshop in the Koshirakura, in the Hook Park, which also Maeda's staff comes and we engage, and also ICI camp I showed before, where some different type of topics where Newtown closer to Tokyo, but there's some sort of community house which left quite empty as well. So yeah, so idea of distillation, which actually from when you see top A corner and diagonally moves, so we're going through a series of exhibition, workshop, and research, and moving towards more social sustainability, so some sort of proactive way to directly engage with climate we find in London, in Japan and London as well. So, shall I continue this? Shall I move? You want to, yeah? ここまで何かありますか？特に。はい。Just want to
Thank you very much. Make a presentation of Maeda Corporation, which should have doing by myself. I'm really a bit emotional today because after a long time relationship with Maeda Corporation and A School, we've done so many workshops every year. Back in memory, but first project, the Maeda Corporation came to UK. It was a project of construction works for the Kew Gardens. There is a Japanese garden and a Japanese temple there, so we done the construction part. That was early 90s, I think. Then the first project or collaboration with A School exhibition titled Invisible Language, 5 young Japanese architects. Then after that, so many workshop, but there was not an exhibition. So this is the first time after 30 years exhibition we have today, and I must say, thank you very much, all people here today, and thank you very much. And 4 teams, some of them first met, but there's wonderful presentation, wonderful works, and I'm really happy today now. I'm here now.
Sure. Okay, I don't know if this is on. Yes. Soji, thank you so much. I think that this is it's a perfect moment, and sort of before I talk about distillation, so many of the conversations with the teams have been about a relationship, working across scales, and the kind of sensitivity to a specific location and a situation and a material. And I remember nearly 2 years ago when we first met that we had this conversation around what this relationship between the AA School and the Maeda Corporation could be. And for me, and looking also at Shin's diagram, it's this migration from the singular project to an understanding of community and of location, and also of the wider implications of how we build and how we work. I think that the diagram that Mio made of the origin of materials actually speaks to those relationships, in that not only do we work with each other, but we work within a landscape. We work across a globe. Very meaningfully, the teams that came together started in, maybe not knowing each other. They built a relationship, and then through a series of conversations that were had across the globe, have somehow brought these incredible objects to the AA. And rather than just celebrating young practice, we're sort of celebrating the establishment of new relationships and new possibilities of working. And as a means of celebrating our relationship, I think it's a great way of honoring it, because it's the beginning of something new, and it has many possibilities rather than just one. So I think I owe a tremendous, debt of gratitude to your involvement in this conversation all along, because there's, I think, not only the scope of the work that the corporation does, but I think that there's an openness to unknown possibilities that's quite unusual. And it's quite unusual to have that relationship with, with a sponsor, with a patron who can give a school like ours the kind of freedom to explore ideas where we don't always have an answer. And that openness has enabled, I think, not only this exhibition, but years of Koshiokuro, which I think was really wonderful that you were saying was sort of, I think, changed a direction, changed a way of thinking. And there's many people in this room who've not only worked with Shin, but participated in Koshikura, and that has been, I think, a very common impact on the way in which they've then built their own practices. So it goes beyond the school, it goes towards generations of architects who are in practice and teaching, are instrumental in the world of London architecture, like you, Takeshi. And I think that it's always evolving because it has the opportunity to. So I think that that's an incredibly unique relationship that I hope has been beautifully distilled here in the exhibition today and the conversation we've had over the course of the afternoon. Do you want to take them through the slides? I don't know what you've got.
Sorry, I'm speaking Japanese. 今オープンという話とか連携コラボレーションという話があったんですけど、前田建設は我々自分たちのことを決してユニークであるというふうには思っていなくてですね、ただ世の中が非常に変わってきている。それはどういう意味かというと、前田建設も創業から105年106年か今年経ってそういう節目に来ていると思うし、日本の社会が非常にもう本当に成長拡大からある意味これ人口減少の時代に入って今2025年問題というふうに言われてるんですけど、いわゆるベイビーブーマーの段階の世代の1950年生まれの人が、今年で75歳を迎えたという。でこの75歳以上が人口の5分の1で、60歳以上が人口の3分の1を占めるような社会になってきたときに、先ほど真央さんが、衣食住で分業専業で来てきたけども、連携していかなきゃいけないという。もう建設会社としても建設現場だけのことをやっていればよい時代ではなくなって、我々自身も社会に向き合わなくなってきたというところが、我々世の中が変わっているので我々も変わらなければいけない。つまりどちらかというとクローズな世界で分業専業していたのがもうオープンになって連携をしていかなければいけない時代に入ってきたというふうに思います。
Right. So you mentioned being open, and I absolutely agree with you on that. And I think collaboration overall is very, very important. And I personally don't think you said Maeda is unique, and I don't really think we are that unique, to be honest. The world is changing, and it's been changing faster and faster. And our company is celebrating 6th year this year, and I think we're facing a crossroad here. And the Japanese society is also changing, and it's very, very obvious. And our society is very much mature, as you can see with these population issues. We've got less and less people. And we are actually facing this 2025 issue. That means that the baby boomers who were born in the 1950s, they are 75 years old. And they are 1/5 of our population. And if you talk about over 60 years old, it's 1/3. So you know how mature our society, Japanese society, is becoming. And I think Mao mentioned it earlier, you talk about clothes, food, and housing, not separating them. And I agree with that. They shouldn't be separated, and they are in a similar line, on the same line even. So we are a construction company, but we have to go beyond that. So we are not just buildings. That we need to face the changes in the society, and we have to go along with that. The world is changing, and so should we. Again, going back to what you said about openness, we used to be closed. We separated our business. We didn't really interact with each other, different industries. But I think every industry should be open and work together, and that's the only way forward, I think.
Very well said. Thank you. Do you want to say
Okay.
We can do it together.
Okay. So because there are lots of bouncing back and forwards between Maeda and AA in London, and Ingrid went to Ingrid and I was also part of this Symposium a year ago in Japan. There the first time where all those participants met, and we organized a bit of a symposium based upon conversation to start. So I can't even remember where the word distillation actually come from, and I think I feel that maybe that's your responsibility.
It might be. Well, Shin, I think we were trying to find something that was like furniture without being furniture. And so I said, what is furniture in Japanese? Hoping it would translate and then translate back. And what was furniture in Japanese?
House means. House and means is kagu pronounced, yeah.
But it's sort of, we couldn't sort of make it work. And I'm like, okay, what is it that we're trying to do? We're trying to describe through a series of objects the kind of practice that these people are involved in. But it doesn't have to be practical. You know, it could just be a something. But how does it bring together those ideas? And so distill became this idea, which I think has been wonderfully picked up by the idea of also distilling whiskey, which we'll enjoy later. But it's a tricky term because we also have pairs, so it's about distilling a design practice and distilling a material practice, and somehow bringing those two things together.
Yeah, and also there is being pointed out that it's actually furniture actually means mobile or mobility in European context as well. And I think we were also talking at Brook Park with the Hidakuma. It's actually how interesting when you look at the building or carpentry. There's a carpenter, fitter, cabinet maker, and what else? But they all use different tools and different dealing with different type of timber and scale, and it's a very, very different scale set, and also something like stature. Then actually they were really integral process, and I think distilling itself as well as this really amazing artifices, which actually quite sophisticated. So probably architects and material knowledge, there might be something we could reflect or review somehow. So I think those all those presentations, which actually quite a learning process they're sharing. So that's actually quite an amazing opportunity for us as well, I think. But kagu means mobile. Yes. But I think in Japan or maybe in Asian context, some part is really inseparable. So until European world furniture is imported, then there was no chair existed in Japan, or there's no table. Certainly there's no sofa, but there was actually folding element and way of living and means of economy of means, which actually quite good words to describe some sort of distillation process somehow.
Well, this is what I really remember because I fixated on this European idea of the mobile and the immobile. You know, the immobile being the building and the mobile being the furniture, as it translates in many languages, and it just didn't work. But I think it was interesting. What came up this afternoon is a conversation around the exterior and the interior, and I think those two things are less clearly differentiated. But I think something that didn't come up is, well, we talked about realness and authenticity and the kind of the pureness of a material and the desire for something beautiful. But there's also a kind of a culture of care that's very different in Japan as it is to a lot of cultures in the West. And I think that has a very important ecological implications as well.
この「Distillation of Architecture」というタイトルで、それぞれのチームが多分これで相当議論をしたんだと思いますね。どういうディスティレーションとは何ぞやとか、 ディステーション、我々の自分たちを置き換えるとどういうことなのかって相当一つ考える大きなきっかけになったということなんですけど、今までの前田建設と YA スクールのワークショップの一つの大きなテーマの流れがソーシャルサステナビリティというテーマが多くて、ちょっと漠然としていたところ、今回もうちょっとその建築の世界に踏み込んでいこうという流れの中でディスティレーションという言葉ができて、今リングレンさんおっしゃったようにそのピュリティってその不純物じゃない素材とかマテリアルという世界に入って、そうするとサステナビリティという言葉だけがこうなんかよく社会に踊っているだけで、具体的にその社会の持続性っていった時は、私はキーワードは地域とか地方とか小さな日本の中でもすごくさまざまな地域があって、それぞれ歴史も違いが文化も違えばその背景が全部違うと。でそこに先ほどの広葉樹ブロードリーフなんていうのはもともと家具には向いてるけど建設には向いていないという。でもここをしっかりと向き合ってそれを生かして、でなおかつ先ほどマネタイズという言葉もありましたけど、それ事業としてつなげていく、もっとチャレンジングに言えばですね、そこが大事であって、ということでね、今回このディステーションのテーマっていうのはまさにとの関係で言っても画期的だし、時代背景からこの地域の現実に向き合うという意味でも非常に画期的なタイトルだったと私は思って。
So the theme of this distillation of architecture, I believe each team had massive discussion and about what is distillation, what does it mean, and also what does it mean for us. I'm pretty sure each team had a really good conversation about it, and I hope that opens a new dialogue to face the new era. And I think it's a great theme for us, the relationship between Maeda and AA. And that's been a great theme all through the years. And we talk about social sustainability. But that seemed to be, in the past, a bit vague. It's a good phrase, but I don't think we understood properly in a real sense. And I think this time around with this exhibition, we put it down to the theme of the architecture, and I think the concept is more, it's much clearer now. You mentioned purity, pure material. Again, we faced the theme of the material through this project. I think each team had a great think about it. And also, talking of words, we use this word sustainability a lot. But we have to really think about it. It's a big, broad term. And I think this gave us a good opportunity to think what it means for each one of us. And I think we need to think about sustainability of the society. So we need to think about the local community and also rural areas, not just big cities or country or the earth. I think we need to focus on smaller units now, and I think that's we are facing that sort of time now. And each, say, community has its own culture, its own history, and each society is different, and they have to be sustainable in their own way. And there was a mention about the broadleaf tree. They aren't good for architecture, but again, it's great to see that somebody out there making great use of it. And also there's a mention of monetizing it, how to make it feasible as a business. That is challenging, and as a corporate, I think is one of the biggest challenges we are facing right now. But it is very important to be sustainable. We need to be financially feasible. So I think the word distillation is radical in a in a way that we are facing a new phase. For us, the relationship between Maeda and AA, and also it's an important concept for the whole society at the moment. And I think this gave us a great opportunity to face that reality and also looking at what's going on in the world and also in your own community, I think, around you.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, shall I? Yeah. You want to add a few more? Yeah.
Go through. I think we will.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we've had the wonderful opportunity of having these presentations. I think Mio and Maddie are a wonderful pair because, you know, one was taught at the AA, another is from Japan. They met in Switzerland. They've had this kind of curious global collaboration, which they continue to do, which is unique and highly unusual to sustain a practice from one side of the globe to the other. So they're a good model for what we're doing. And I won't speak for their work because they spoke for it beautifully earlier. Yes.
Yeah.
What I want to call attention to for those who have joined us in preparation for the opening of the exhibition is you'll see these conversations between the pairs are on video. You can listen to them. And there's something really beautiful about those conversations. They're exactly what we are trying to do with the distillation. As we move through these, I also kind of wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what distillation means in relation to climate change. So many times we have a huge idea but have to realize it at a fraction of its scale. So how does one maintain an idea that may be compromised economically, politically, maybe compromised in time or all sorts of constraints? And how do you maintain a position or an idea as it shifts and changes over time and scale? And I hope you'll find that the pieces upstairs and in the gallery offer some kind of answer to that. Likewise, I think that what I've really enjoyed about this pairing is that they feel very familiar. I have John Makepeace here in the front row who was instrumental, obviously, in Hook Park, which is our own broadleaf tree condition. And we're wrestling with something very similar, but using a very, very different kind of language of carpentry. And we have much to learn from one another. But the ongoing collaboration is really significant. And then finally, this, I think I have, as soon as I saw, the work of Sagara-san, I think, really such an unexpected use of a familiar material. And then to understand how those techniques change is so extraordinary. And then for you two to meet and form this relationship, which feels like it was full of laughter, has been a wonderful thing to watch. I know you wanted it to be outside, but somehow sitting in the front members' room underneath that chandelier gives me tremendous joy. Sort of exactly what should be in the AA, probably at all times.
I just go here. So I just go through. We have a bit limited time, so just focuses on event follows when this massive package arrived. They were stuck in somewhere, so take a bit long time. So later last week, one box and one beautifully wrapped object arrived somehow. Then Hidakuma teams and Tsubame arrive, and the first thing they wanted to do is they want to come to Hook Park. So they drive the car for like nearly 5 hours, meet them in Hook Park. They are standing like Japanese pop stars, but it's actually quite a good album, I think. Yeah, but newly built platform, so it's instant connection with timber usage and aim in different scale. Meanwhile, Sagara-san and Jo-san were hosted by kindly with Charles Walker and Alison Brooks, which might be here too. Anyway, so it's quite nice. I think it was also Ingrid's idea that how can we engage with council members, and just try to really finding some interesting matchmaking process somehow. So it's actually working very beautifully, I think. And what they do, what do? You come to London for the first time, and of course they go to pub. So Sagara-san and Joe was in London, and we went to country pub in Hook Park, near the Hook Park as well. So we are kind of raising glass at the same time in different places, location. So how this setup start when the box open up, people become curious, you smell the such everywhere, and gather around, and of course setting up need lots of helpers and people who are participated or improvise themselves. So it's in a way for us it's quite a really nice informal event. It's like Sagara-san describe as a jazz session or some sort of hip hop. Or then in fact he can do hip hop actually. We could have requested yesterday, but anyway. So and then they're adapting their own structure for working environment as well. So co-working space. They contact Japan while they're working here. Also, this is Mio's setup. Opening up. Maybe too long. Oh. Okay, that's okay. There's a bit of LED problem, so they went. Okay. Yeah, light. Okay. So then after that, they start teaching. When set up a picnic, and also meals and little meal. Start really making family unit. Kind of provides, and then again repeating picture. But so I think every time object moves, sitting somewhere, then always some functionalities and space being come out and things. But I think for us it's quite amazing how much we can achieve by connecting people and linking and engaging and communication. That is kind of a most valuable network of relationship and trust, I think. So, it's okay. I'm gonna close here, but probably I just leave to final comment if the time is allowed.
じゃあ改めて、本当にこのような機会をいただいて本当にありがたく感謝をしております。ただこれで終わりではなくて、ここからまたスタートしていくのかなと思ってます。私の最近好きな言葉が建築においてもそうなんですけど、文脈的価値、なんていうの、コンテクスチュアルバリューっていうんでしょうかね。長らく建築とか、仕事とか会社とかがこう先に出ている時代が長かったと思うんですけど、やっぱりそこに携わっている人であったり、その地域独特の文化であったり、材料っていうんですかね、そういったものが主役の時代が来てもいいんじゃないかなという。そうするとこの一点を持って終わりではなくて、過去から今から未来に時間軸はずっとつながっていって、そこにまた新たな価値が生まれてくるというところにが大事だと思います。でここに来るのに多くの偶然が重なって今に来ているんですけど、これを必然に持っていくには意志が必要なので、そこは我々3人の役割かと思っているので、ここは一緒にまた新たな価値を生み出す挑戦をし続けていきたいと思います。ありがとうございました。
So thanks very much for the opportunity. But this isn't the end of everything. This is the new beginnings. My favorite phrase recently is the contextual values. And I used to think about that term in regards to the architecture, or in the past, say, my field is architecture, but work or corporate, they were the main people, main characters. Obviously, there's a culture, local communities, and everything were valued before, but still, corporate was the first. And I think it's definitely changing, and it's continuous. So as I said earlier, it's not the end of it. This is a continuous effort, and there's going to be new values to come, and that's something that we're going to face. And there's been so many coincidences along the way working on this project, but things are probably meant to be. So we need to make it. We need to make it definite. It's not an accident. It's something that we have and we hold, we value, and I think it's easy to say, but I think that's a value we have to have, and that's a challenge, the new challenge that we are facing. And I'm really happy with this partnership, and I'm looking forward to going forward into the future. Thank you.
It's to me say our deepest thanks, and it's been, again, I hope it is the beginning of the next chapter. We are a community, and a bigger community outside these walls. A big thank you, obviously, to our council members who provided homes. They are also part of our community, but you are so much part of our community. Thank you so much, and please join us in the gallery and upstairs for a drink next door. And we can toast this wonderful afternoon and this wonderful exhibition. Thank you once again.
You are encouraged to touch everything, and you can drink by also Tsubame's bar counter. Yeah. But those Yamada-sans you can touch and wear, but please don't eat it. Yeah? Yeah. We can't guarantee, but yeah. Thank you very much.